It's no secret that the move to Las Vegas has definitely taken a toll on the Raiders fan base. For the fans in Oakland, their team has moved a pretty big distance, and going to games weekly is no longer a possibility. And for the fans in LA, of course, it's a shorter distance for them to go to games. That very passionate Los Angeles Raider fan base, they still didn't get a team in their city. And of course, LA has two football teams now, and I thought, it'd be a good time to make this video because the Rams just won the Super Bowl. They have the Chargers and the Rams, but it's very clear that the excitement for the Chargers and Rams would never match up to the excitement that the Raiders had in LA. And of course, just a disclaimer, I'm not saying the Raiders' attendance in LA was ever really super good by any means, but I think at this point in, football's history, I think the LA Raiders would have been a really good idea to have because let's just be honest. The Raiders were never going to stay in Oakland. That was impossible to happen. And I think for a lot of fans, including myself, it was hard to really realize that. A lot of people, including myself, were thinking it's either Oakland or nothing. We're going to be Oakland Raider fans, or we're not going to be Raider fans at all. But the fact of the matter is, the Raiders were going to move somewhere. And I think LA would have been the best option. Now, of course, there have been plans for, teams such as the Raiders to move to LA before. And one of the most recent ones that was very close to happening was in the year 2015. There was rumblings about the Raiders possibly moving to the city of Carson, which is about 21 kilometers or 13 miles south of LA. It's where the LA Galaxy soccer team plays, and it was going to be a very interesting plan and somewhat controversial plan to have the Chargers and Raiders share a stadium. Now, of course, that never happened for obvious reasons. And, we can blame the Rams for this not happening because, of course, Stan Kroenke bought, stadium land in Inglewood to build what is now SoFi Stadium, and that changed everything. And although, this plan obviously had its flaws, let's be real, the Chargers sharing a stadium with the Raiders, I mean, how would that work? They're rivals, the fan bases, although the Chargers fan base is smaller, they have it's not a very, good relationship, Raiders and Chargers. But the Chargers are going to be tenants no matter what. They weren't getting a stadium done in San Diego. But honestly, I think in a perfect world, the Raiders and Rams maybe could have shared a stadium and Chargers moved to Vegas or some combination of that. But that's not what happened. The plan fell through really because of Stan Kroenke. But yeah, I mean, I just think now I'll kind of talk about why I think the LA Raiders would have been a really good idea. Now, like I said, I think in a perfect world, they would still be the Oakland Raiders, but we're not in a perfect scenario here. The Raiders were not going to stay in Oakland. And I think LA, first of all, has history of having the Raiders there. Although somewhat it ended not in a great way. I mean, the Raiders' attendance at the Coliseum in LA Coliseum was not very good. You could say it was very bad for most years, but they did win a Super Bowl there, and there was a lot of excitement. The Raiders, were the only LA team to win a Super Bowl before a couple days ago. And, the Raiders just had that image that LA loved, right? I mean, the LA Kings wore silver and black, right around, right after after the Raiders moved to LA. The LA Kings literally changed their colors to silver and black. The Raiders had a huge influence on the pop culture in Los Angeles. They had a fan base there that probably would have continued on. I mean, sure, you could argue, well, the Rams probably would have, the Rams have a fan base there because they played in LA for many years before moving to St. Louis. But the Rams, fan base, there isn't much left of that from the original Los Angeles era. A lot of the Rams fans now are newer fans, and this isn't speculation. Like, this is a known fact because the Rams obviously moved in the 90s, and so you would have to be like a true fan. You would have had to be a non-Raiders fan, even though the Raiders were more popular there in that era, and there just really aren't that many of those people. But the LA Raiders had a big influence in, merchandise, pop culture. They won a Super Bowl there. The most recent Super Bowl was in Los Angeles. And so it's my opinion, it would have been a great idea to move to Los Angeles. I don't know about Carson in particular. I think Carson would have had its issues, but you could have built pretty much what Allegiant Stadium is in Carson. I mean, the land was probably a lot more affordable in that area. And I just think the Raiders moving to LA would have been a lot better idea for the fans, right? Because Vegas, you're adapting to this new market. And sure, if you're a fan living in LA, you have the Raiders close by now, like somewhat in Las Vegas, but it just isn't the same. But I honestly think, and if the Raiders moved to LA instead of Las Vegas, I would probably like them just as much as the Oakland Raiders, right? I of course love the Raiders, no matter what, but it's hard liking the Las Vegas Raiders to the same degree as I like the Oakland Raiders. And I felt like with LA, it probably wouldn't have changed my opinion too much on it, because the fact of the matter is a move was inevitable. And I know for a lot of people that's hard to accept that. I think a lot of people blame the ownership, which they are definitely to blame. But I think the city of Oakland was not competent enough and not capable of keeping the Raiders, just because of, A, the politics with the public money, and B, the Raiders needed a new stadium, quickly, because Roger Goodell and the owners, it's just embarrassing for a league like the NFL to have a stadium, don't get me wrong, I love going to the Oakland Coliseum, but to have a stadium still like that in such a big league, it's not viable anymore. And the Coliseum, they needed to move out of there. But I think moving to LA would have been a better idea. But that being said, 10 years from now, maybe my thoughts on this will change, because they've only been in Las Vegas for 2 years and only have had fans at games for 1. So I just think personally the LA Raiders would have been a better idea. And just for everybody, because the Oakland fans, they, have the team in the same state. The LA fans get the team back after, 30 plus years, or about 30 years of not having them. And Vegas wouldn't have, even a fan base in Vegas wouldn't have even existed for these purposes. So yeah, that's what I think. Let me know your thoughts on this. It's somewhat, there's controversy about this. So yeah, let me know your thoughts. I'll see you guys later, and yeah, go Raiders.